All right, stand by. Roll sound.
Speed.
Roll camera.
Speeding.
Slate.
Scene one, take one, mark.
And action. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Burnie's Applebox, and we're going to get right to it today because I am very, very, very excited. We have on today Greg Jacobs, and I'm not even going to try to do justice to his past right now. We'll talk about that in the interview. But Greg is one of the people who was very instrumental in my beginning as a gaffer and owning a G&E company. And I'll tell you something, I met this man 15 years ago probably, and I walked into his office to introduce myself to him, and he brought me in and he gave me a speech that I remember to this very day, and he pumped me up so much it's lasted to this very minute. And he's very responsible. He gave me all kinds of work on some of the funnest jobs I've ever done. And I just want to introduce and shake hands right now with one of my mentors, Greg Jacobs. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, my brother.
Very sweet.
Thank you.
I don't know if a mentor can be younger than
Oh,
somebody.
yeah. Well, apparently they can.
You're very sweet in that opening, and I appreciate that. Like he mentioned, Burnie and I met probably back in '99. So at least 15 years ago, roughly.
At least, yeah.
In '98, and I had a company called Magellan Media, and we were in Costa Mesa, and what I saw in Burnie was just hustle. I saw hustle in you, like I hadn't seen in other people. And what I looked at you and felt was the following. Here's a guy who started later in this business than others had. Mm-hmm. And you had grit. You had grit, and you had work ethic, and you had energy. Mm-hmm. And you give me those three things in any business, you'll be successful.
Awesome.
You needed clients. Mm-hmm. You had some gear, you needed more gear, but you were very cautious about your expansion, which I was impressed by. You didn't want to get too big too fast, which is exactly the very fiscally responsible way to run a company. Mm-hmm. You were on a couple of sets with us.
Yep.
And I took the time to walk around and ask the others on the set about you, mm-hmm. and do some background. Okay. And it was unanimous in your approach to the business. And what I mean by unanimous to your approach to the business, you just love it.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
You just love it.
Absolutely.
And they always say, if you love something you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's right. That's right.
And so I see where you are today, and I see how you've expanded, and I see the multiple trucks, and you still grind it out. Mm-hmm. And you go through life and you look for authenticity. You look for somebody that walks the walk and talks the talk.
Yes.
And that is you.
Well, thank you.
So what I would say to anybody who's viewing this, he knows what he's talking about.
That is very kind of you.
And there's a lot of people that can act it, mm-hmm. fake it, try to make it. Mm-hmm. You do it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And so there's the Mutual Admiration Society we went through.
That 20 will be on your table as you go out, sir.
Fantastic.
Thank you. We
make sure it's cash.
We pay after the show. I told you that in the very beginning.
That's great. That's good.
Listen, I want people to know who they're hearing from, Greg, and because your credits are so stellar, I want to make sure I get them right. Now, first of all, and let me just ask you this: you started out with your uncle, mm-hmm. who owned a production mm-hmm. company, and you were just a kid, mm-hmm. and your uncle was like your hero, I think, to you back then, and
yep.
and he put you in early. How old were you when you first got into the business?
12.
12. So you were on set at 12.
Yeah.
Probably running for your uncle, doing the odd jobs.
I was a PA,
coffee.
and my job was to charge the radios at night. So in the olden days,
oh sure,
we would have, the people call them walkie-talkies, we called them radios in the production business.
Yeah.
And so I would have the chargers, and I would, every night in my hotel room, I was rooming with other production guys on the road, and we would charge radios. And we did, the early days, we did, Budweiser had a campaign called "This Bud's for You," for all you can do, this Bud's for you.
So you guys did that campaign.
We did that campaign for years. and then we did a lot of Chrysler commercials. And so I grew up in the business. I always say, if we owned a cleaners or a donut shop, that's what I'd be doing.
You'd be Dunkin'
We just
Donuts
happened to
now.
own a production company, and that's all I knew.
You're right.
And so I traveled the road, and I packed. We shot on Arri S's, and we shot on Arri SRs when they came out, and on CP16s, and so it was all film, and I was changing mags, and I didn't know anything different. I was built on the business.
Yeah.
And then one day, if you can let me expand on that story, and how I got started. One day, my uncle was actually he had a meeting in Detroit, Michigan, north of Detroit.
Okay.
And with Lee Iacocca, he was running Chrysler at the time.
Okay.
And so my uncle,
And your uncle was a heavy hitter.
He was a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he and our relationship has shifted.
Yeah.
But that's understandable
Gotcha.
in time.
Understood.
And so it's a very short story. I was 15 years old. I was traveling with him, and he said, "Hey, I got a meeting at Chrysler. Would you like to go with me and see the business side of the business?" And so he took me to Myers, which in the north is a clothing store or like a Kmart thing, and bought me my very first sports coat.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we went into the meeting, and I watched him. He is magical at what he does. He's magical. He can be difficult, but he's magical when he's in that room.
Yeah.
And he would lean in, lean out. His body language was there, and he sold the show in the room. I always say we sold the show in the room.
Wow.
And so he walked out, and at that
and that was your first business meeting that
Very
you went
first
to as
business
a
meeting.
kid, and so you saw one sold in the room.
sold in the room, and that's the phrase I use today.
Yes.
Sold in the room.
Yes.
And we sold it, and I'm remembering this vividly. This had to have been 1985,
Okay.
84.
Okay.
And we sold the show for $365,000 in that day.
Wow.
Which was a lot of money
That's a big
for a
amount.
half-hour show.
Sure.
And then we got in the car, rental car, and he said, we sold it in the room. And that's the first time I've ever heard that phrase.
Oh my God.
And that was the moment I realized that there's a lot of elements. What I love about this business, and even though we know it's changing,
Yes.
what I love about this business is there's an art to it.
Yes.
Like any business, but there's
Yes.
real art to this one. And you can find your role. I want to be a sound guy. I want to be a gaffer. I want to be a best boy. At that point, I wanted to be the businessman in the room selling the idea.
Wow. And how old were you then?
15.
Wow.
I was 15, and that's when I realized this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I have been in this business every single day since. I went to college,
What college did you go to?
University of Denver.
Okay.
University of Denver.
Okay.
I went to college, and while I was in college, I said we had with the production company, and we had shot a lot of material over all those years. And I said, why don't we build a stock footage company? Let's sell clips of the stuff that we've done.
Sure.
So if somebody is doing a Chevy commercial, we might have shots of sunsets or whatever. I'm
Whatever they
Johnny Depp.
need. Yeah.
And so I ran the stock footage company out of my dorm room while I went to college. And so every day I would bifurcate my day. I'd go to school in the morning, and then in the afternoon I would run the stock footage company. I did all the invoicing, I did everything else. And we were doing, we had a nice little stock footage company.
Yeah.
And so we called Freewheeling Stock Shots, and we did that and so that's where I started to shift into the business side of it.
Right.
And how to really monetize and repurpose the content that we already had in our library.
Right.
And I think we were early to it, and there were several in the business that started to do it at that time. Now it's of course online, and it's clip free, and it's all that.
And all of that was film based, right?
All
everything
that was
you shot was
we didn't
film.
we didn't shoot tape until I don't even
long time after that.
Yeah. I have a photograph. We did a bunch of stuff with Paul Newman when he was racing for Paul Sharp, and I have a photograph that I still have in my house of me holding a boom. I ran the Nagra, which is an old sound machine, a Nagra,
Sure.
and tape to tape, and my boom. And so what I was doing is I was doing every element of the business, and I thought, and people do that today. I get that, but it was important to me. I never wanted to go, and what I respected about you and liked about you, I never wanted to go on set if I couldn't do something. I can put up a C-stand if I have to. I don't want to, but if I have to.
Yep.
I can go grab these called sand, which is the sandbags.
Yeah.
With beach, okay. And you could just do those things. And so when what you've been doing over the past, I've been a student of you for the past, what, 6 months,
Yeah,
year?
yeah,
And you called it Burnie's Applebox.
yeah.
I said to my wife, I said, that is a fantastic name for this. Because what is an Applebox? And if you only are in the business, do you really know about it?
Exactly.
And so there's
Exactly.
something about the
Yes.
authenticity of that.
Yes.
So,
And the play off the soapbox, that was one of the things too.
Oh, that's
You know, the
perfect.
politicians have a soapbox.
Yeah.
I, of course, have an apple box.
Box.
Right?
That looks great.
No, very much appreciated, Greg. That is very good. But do me this favor, because where you've been since then
yeah.
is something I want people to get a sense of right now. And so I know, and just take me through them. You were at NASCAR for how long?
I was at NASCAR for 5.5 years.
5.5 years. From NASCAR,
I was recruited out to go to Red Bull.
to go to Red Bull.
And I was one of the probably 4 or 5 founding partners of Red Bull Media House,
Wow.
which was their media company.
Wow.
And at NASCAR, we created the NASCAR Media Group,
Yes.
and we sold television shows. And my role at NASCAR was very simple. We had the race, and we would sell the race rights to the television network.
Okay.
But we had no money coming in from ancillary programming, shoulder programming. So I said, there's stories about what the race car drivers do off track. Their
Yes.
lives, their wives, their businesses, their whatever. Let's do television shows about that. And so I was in charge of all ancillary programming for NASCAR. Non-theatrical. So they did Talladega Nights. That was not in my division. I was
Right.
all reality.
You were all
or-
reality, yeah.
So we had a scripted division. We had a non-scripted. I was unscripted.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and then I went to Red Bull and was one of the founding partners. They pulled me out of NASCAR and offered me a nice deal, and moved out here with my second wife, and was one of the 4 or 5 founding partners of the Red Bull Media House.
That is amazing. Let me go back to NASCAR for a little
Okay.
bit, and because here's what I'm curious about, and I think a lot of people are curious about this. You know, from a production side, from my side down here, it's always foggy top, right? You never really know what the thinking is going on around the top of somebody's media choices. And that's what I'm really sort of interested in at NASCAR. When you brought the idea in and said, look, we've got this, we're selling the races, okay, to the networks, but we have ancillary stories here. You know, how did you pitch that? How was that?
It was simple.
It was the idea received well?
I first stopped and I said, what's our demographic breakdown? 49, 51, 49% female.
Okay, that surprises me.
Because it was counter viewing. The woman would sit with her husband, boyfriend, whatever,
Right.
and watch the race.
Yeah.
But women I believe today,
Yeah.
more interested in the stories that go on behind the scenes. What makes
human story.
The human stories.
Yeah.
So I said, let's make programming that fits the second half of our viewership, which we're not serving right now. And so I would walk in and I would pitch a television show. And I remember I pitched a show to, what I would do is I would call the client and try to get them somewhat aware of NASCAR. And most of them were.
Yeah.
This was 2000.
Oh, it would seem to me now who couldn't be aware of
Exactly.
NASCAR?
But I was still surprised.
Right.
Or they would have a preconceived notion of what it was.
Okay.
So I'd give them a call and I would pitch them, and I know here's where we are, and here's our fan base, and here's this. But there is an unserved fan base in the female counter viewer. She's sitting on the couch, and she doesn't care about lap times and tire temperatures and things like that.
Right.
She cares about what's his wife going through right now.
Sure. Exactly.
And so what I would do is I would send a die-cast car to my clients, because a die-cast NASCAR car, because they couldn't throw it away. It was an expensive $100 car, and it would sit on their desks.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and we went from one client, Speed Channel, Bob Scanlon was running it at the time. We went from one client, Speed Channel,
Okay.
to 14 clients by the time I left there.
Wow.
We were on multiple networks.
Wow.
And I used to always say to the production guys, I will never sell something you can't make. Don't make something I can't sell.
Ooh.
Sometimes
I like
sometimes,
that.
sometimes the creatives would come to me and say, this is what we want to go make. Well,
Yeah.
there's no market for that.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to go in and sell something you guys just can't make.
Yeah.
Or make on the dollar that we're going to earn from the client.
Right.
And so, yeah, I had a lot of success in that.
So tell me about that too, and repeat that statement again. Just repeat it what you said. I'm not going to sell what you can't make.
I'm
Repeat
not going
that.
to, and I have a little tiny story next to that.
Okay.
So I'm not going to sell something you can't make.
Okay,
Do not make or create something that I can't sell.
very good.
And
I
too
like
many
that.
people today make a show, make a pilot tape, I call it tape still,
Sure.
and they go, well, I'd watch it. Yeah, that's fine if you'd watch it. You're the one that made it.
Yeah.
But the client might not buy it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And I had a boss at NASCAR that used to say, they must buy this. Well, yeah, we can must all we want,
Yeah.
but they may not nod and say yes.
Right.
And so, final kind of piece of that story on NASCAR, it was New York. Mm-hmm. It was 2006.
Okay.
I had not sold anything. I was 7 months into my job. If I owned a mortuary, nobody would have died. It was brutal.
That is brutal.
A friend of mine, his guy's name is Danny Sullivan. He won Indy in '85, and so Danny and I had dinner the night before, and I said to him, I said, I don't know if I can do this. No one's saying yes to me.
Yeah.
And he said, you just got to keep up. Just keep doing it. Show up every day. He said, I used to put my race suit on, and he was racing for Penske in Formula One, and he would have bad days. He goes, I zipped up my race suit every day, my fire suit, and put on my helmet, and I did it. So that morning, I got up and I went and I sold, or went to pitch a show to what was called I'm trying to think. What was called Rainbow Media or something.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, they
Go
were
ahead.
actually a very legit company.
Yeah.
They then sold and turned into OLN and da-da-da-da.
Okay.
And I went in the meeting and I pitched the show. I said, we have a 37-part series that we want to do, which is going to happen every single week, the Tuesday after the race. So you have the race on Sunday, typically. Mm-hmm. Then on the Tuesday afterwards, we're going to do a live event turnaround, and we're going to give you a half-hour show. And the show is going to be interesting because you're cable. This was when cable was cable.
Yeah.
We're going to have all the raw language of the drivers. We are going to give you the real inside look at the drivers. It's 37 episodes, and it's $185,000 an episode.
Wow.
And they said yes.
Wow. Awesome.
And I remember a guy named Greg Moore was the head guy there, and he said, "Yeah, Greg, we'll take that." And I kept talking, and I learned in sales at that day, when they nod, shut up. And
Absolutely.
that was what I learned that day, and we sold that series, and that was the biggest series we'd ever sold outside of race
Oh,
broadcast.
I mean,
for
that's a
NASCAR.
huge thing.
It was. And then what's fun about that is the following. Guys on the team said, hey, we want to submit the live event turnaround to the Emmys, to the sports Emmys. Mm-hmm. And we think we might have a chance. And so in 2008, I won my first my only and first, I have two, but my first national sports Emmy.
Oh,
I don't say that
awesome.
bragging at all,
Awesome.
but I say that it was an Olympic year.
Yeah.
So we were up against the Olympics for a live event turnaround, which was
Wow.
hard.
That's huge.
And then finally, the day I didn't want to get out of bed, to get in the cab, to drag my bag, to go down Fifth Avenue, to pitch some network when I'd been told no 50 times,
Yeah. Yeah.
was the show where they said yes, and I won an Emmy.
Unbelievable.
And that, to
And
me-
so at the low point, that was
It was the
biggest
lowest
spike.
point of my career.
That's incredible.
And it just, what goes to show, for anybody that's learning out there or is young out there,
Yeah.
and I was 36 at the time, which is not young, but it's your mid-career.
No, absolutely.
Never give up.
Oh, dude. Please,
Never give up.
please. Just like you told me in that first meeting.
True.
Just
Never
like
give
you
up.
told me in that first meeting. And Greg, that is so true. That is so true.
Never give up.
You know, Greg, I have to remind myself of that almost daily.
I can
You
imagine.
know, not because I feel like giving up, but because that's the formula for success.
The only way.
It's the only way. There is no giving up and being successful.
100% right.
Yeah.
I call it corporate attrition. There are going to be others that are going to give up.
Absolutely.
There's going to be others that are going to have unforced errors. Don't be that person.
Yes. Yes.
And there's days there's days that's really hard. This business has changed dramatically in 15 years.
Oh.
And there's days I don't understand it. There's days I question it. There's days I go, boy, I should go sell Mini Coopers somewhere.
See, dude, that is so inspirational to me coming from you because I have those same thoughts. I'm thinking, boy, if I was Greg Jacobs, I'd know what to do here.
No. There are days you wake up in the morning and just go, well, let's try it.
Well, yeah.
But my
yeah.
grandfather used to always say, and I mean many grandfathers or fathers said this, and we all know the cliche, get up, dress up, and show up.
That's
It's
bingo.
80% of the gig.
Absolutely.
We can fake the rest.
Absolutely.
The other 20%, we can get through.
Well, yeah, you know what? Just right in line with this, here's how I put it. You know, being there, you've beat 90% of them already.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, just getting in the car, getting on the freeway, getting to the office, and doing it.
Doing it is you've beat 90% of them already.
And I have a couple of theories. You never make a phone call, never make a sales call before noon on Monday or after noon on Friday.
Okay.
Never. Because here's the thing. I see that so many times young sales guys, I don't care what you're selling. You could be selling insurance or selling television.
Yeah.
Young guys come in and go, I'm going to hit it hard at 8:30. I'm going to hit it and I'm going to start calling.
Yeah.
The senior executive that you're calling on is just getting his or her life together.
Yeah.
They've had a weekend of kids. They probably took the kids to school. They're just getting in the office. They're checking their email. They're just kind of getting up to speed. The last thing they want to see is somebody hustling them early in the day on a Monday. They haven't even warmed up. We could call NASCAR up to operating temperature.
Yes.
They're not there yet.
Right.
So the days you want to sell are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Okay.
Try not to sell on Monday and try to sell on Friday.
Yeah.
Now, somebody will say, well, make that last call. And I get that.
Yeah.
But make those last calls Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah. Yeah.
Work the work week when people want the work week to be worked.
Right on. Right on.
You have-
And that's coming from someone who knows. Okay. This is not guessing. This is you've executed
I've sold a lot of television.
You've sold a lot of television.
Yeah, I know. That's
Lot
not,
of
and that's no bragging at all. I just have sold a lot of television.
You have sold a lot of television. You know what? I think we're going to take a quick break, Greg, right here. And then when we come back, I want to move through your career a little bit and let's talk about Red Bull. And I want to spend some time there.
I have a story at Red Bull, yep.
Awesome.
Good.
Okay, we'll be right back.
This has been fun.
Hi, I'm Burnie. I own Burnie's Grip and Lighting, San Diego Grip and Lighting, and Los Angeles Grip and Lighting. You know, we pride ourselves on not only renting you the best equipment, but also giving you the best crews. And one of our core values here at Burnie's Grip and Lighting is that we give you the highest production value in the world. And remember, people used to say national, local. No, we present world-class production value on every set. We also know budgets are very tight these days, and you've got 10 hours to get what you need in the can. We move ahead, we move fast, and we know what you need. When you rent from Burnie's Grip and Lighting, you have a partner on your production for that day that is making sure you are well taken care of. So anytime you're in Southern California, give us a call at 714-609-3545, and we'll take very good care of you. See you on set. Hey everybody, welcome back. Here with Greg Jacobs. And I'll tell you what, if you're just tuning in now, go back and start this show from the beginning because there's every word from this man's mouth is golden, and it will make you money. Let me just be that blunt about it. If you listen to what this guy is talking about, it will make you money if you're in our business. So
Sweet.
And we're gonna. Greg was at NASCAR, and we've just talked about that a little bit, and we'll go back and we'll talk a little more too because there's other questions I have. But we're just talking about Greg's career. Now, Greg, and you tell us you were one of the founding members of Red Bull Media House. Am I correct?
That's fair to say. If you look at Red Bull Media House and you look at it, there was two sides to it. There was, of course, Austria, where it's based,
Okay.
in Salzburg, Austria,
Okay.
and then in North America. And in North America, I was one of the first, probably 4 or 5 founding members. I actually like to say, even though I like to say I was the first head of there.
Yes.
So I was head of all distribution.
Wow.
And then I became head of, or senior vice president of monetization.
Okay.
And we started using the word monetization earlier, I thought earlier on, and now I think it's a little more common phrase.
Yes. Yes, yes, you are right about that because I noticed that when when I saw your title on monetization, I thought that's the first time I've seen it used that way.
Yeah, I had a wonderful boss named Werner Brell,
Okay.
and he's Austrian, and he came into my office one day and said, "Hey, I'm giving you a promotion. You're going to run the entire division of all revenue."
Wow.
And we used to always joke, and I say this, I used to have a tramp stamp on my back that just said revenue. And it's all I cared about. All my key performance indicators, KPIs, was revenue based. Everything my entire life.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want to do, but you have to make money.
Yes.
It's bottom line.
Thank you.
You have to make money. You have to make money for the company, make money for your own salary. You got to pay for your car, and da da da. And so I ran all monetization, and we were, when I first started, it was, we were giving all the content away for free, all of it.
Wow.
And so I look at Red Bull this way. If you give me about 2 minutes here, and I'll give you a story. I came into Red Bull, and I was the very first distribution guy there.
Okay.
And I look at it this way: there was a barn, which there wasn't. It was a beautiful office in Santa Monica.
Right.
But there was a barn, and in that barn were just racks and racks of content, footage, right? You pull the light, a little string on the light comes on, and you look around and you go, oh my goodness, look at all this content. And so I take the content off the shelf, package television shows, cut to 22:30 in time, ready to go to air. And I started just to pitch it. And I just went to the market. I literally, as if I had a pickup truck, and I dropped the tailgate, and I had my wares on the back of the tailgate. And so I sold the first time we generated real money there was a network that was owned by Fox.
Okay.
And CJ Alvarez ran it, called Fuel, Fuel TV.
Yep.
And so we were sitting in CJ's office, just there, at Santa Monica area, and CJ goes, and I had a client. My colleague was a guy named Scott Bradfield. And Scott Bradfield is the head of all production for Red Bull.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful man. And so Scotty and I were sitting in the room, and CJ goes, Scotty, I like what you have. That we're looking at probably 25 hours of programming this year, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's great. Yes, we'll take it. I said, okay, fine. But CJ, you got to pay.
Yeah.
And CJ had never paid.
Okay.
And so CJ goes, he looks at me and says, what's it going to, I said, it's going to cost you $638,000.
Wow.
And he goes, I knew you were going to ask. Okay.
You just like
and
that?
Scott Bradfield literally fell off the couch because they had never sold their program. But I had nothing to lose.
Right.
The guy, CJ, who I adore to this day, and now he runs Street League, a skateboard company that I was a CEO of for a while.
Okay.
So he now runs them, and they have an online network. So CJ, I might send CJ this clip because CJ knew I was going to ask for the money.
Yeah.
A toll, I call it a toll.
The toll.
You're not gonna pass this road and get this content without paying.
Yes. Yes.
And this is how we're gonna do it. And he, to his professional credit, he was great. And David Hill is, I think, still the chairman of Fox Sports. And David was his boss, but he had already cleared it with David. And so that was the first. We made more money in that one deal than Red Bull had ever made on any TV deal in North America.
Wow.
And we went from that point on. And because here's the bottom line: ask for the money.
Say it again.
The money.
Say it again.
Just ask for the money.
Oh.
What's the worst they're going to say is no.
Thank you.
And if they say no, can you validate my parking? And I'll leave.
And you're still asking for the money.
Exactly. I'm not getting out of here. You guys pay me something.
I love it, dude. Give me a high five on that one. Give me a high five.
I'm enjoying this. I get. Oh.
Not show me the money. Ask for the money.
So then I have one more Red Bull story for you, and then
let me ask a quick question here, just
it's
based on
It's your
that.
show, by the way. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Greg, but I'll give it to you.
Forget about that sometimes.
This is your show. Today it's your show. So previous to that, and this surprises me, Red Bull had not sold anything. They had only given it away to promote the product. Would I be correct on that? Or even as a generalization?
Austria was selling a few things internationally. But in North America, we were running Canada, and we were running, of course, that's North America, Canada, and U.S.
Yeah.
Not, you know what? That's not true. I saw a deal that we did for fuel where they paid us for duplication costs of maybe $1,300.
Oh, okay.
That's not a license fee.
No, that's
not a
next to
commission.
nothing. Yeah.
And so to be fair, and so I kind of another, there's a mini story on Red Bull. I was hired by a woman named Amy Taylor.
Okay.
Brilliant woman. She now runs the entire Eastern Division for Red Bull. And I said to her one day, I said, why did you hire me? You know, I came from NASCAR, and you got there's a lot of distribution, really top distribution execs in California, in LA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the hub. Why did you hire me? She says, because I knew you could sell uphill.
Awesome.
I knew you would, and she says, and so many guys would come in and they would drop their expensive sunglasses on the table on their big Mercedes keys, and they would lean back and they would say, what are you going to do for me?
Yeah.
And she says, and you leaned in and said, you give me 6 months, I will hustle business, and I promise you will get our numbers. And we hit our numbers every single year.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was
That's
Amy Taylor's a
awesome.
sweetheart, and she gave me a chance, and I pulled that string in that little barn, and
That little light bulb
I
went
took
on.
I took all that content out, and we started selling it, and
That
we
is
just
so huge.
started
And
hitting
done
numbers.
content, already been paid for.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's somebody basically says, I've got 4 vintage Mercedes in my garage. Can you help me sell them?
Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
You know, so it was not tough.
Yeah.
All I had
Yeah.
to do was work,
Yeah.
make a few phone calls, get on the airplane, have a conversation, and then ask.
Yes.
CJ, I want $638,000 for this content, which you have never paid for before.
Yeah.
And CJ says to me, I remember it vividly, like I said, he said, I knew you were going to ask.
Yeah.
I'm prepared.
Yeah. And so up till that time, they were probably just going, God, this is so great. We get it for
was a-
nothing all the time. And one day we're going to have to pay for it. I'm sure that conversation.
I think-
Because they're selling ad time
of
and
course
everything
they are.
against it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it kind of reminds me of the old America's Family Home Videos, or America's Famous Home Video.
Yeah.
I love the concept. You get a paying audience, right?
Yeah.
The content comes in for free,
Yes.
some videotape from some rando out there.
Yeah.
And they're monetizing it.
Yeah.
And nobody's making any money except them. I'm like, that's just fantastic. What a model.
No, it's a love model.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and that's what all, and we kept saying, or they were saying at Red Bull, well, it's a marketing play, it's a marketing play, it's a marketing play.
Yeah. They had convinced themselves of that.
You can have both.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I believe is, if the content is good enough, which we all know, anybody will pay for it if they're engaged and interested.
Yes. Yes.
Ask for the money. Ask for the money. And so,
Now
then-
you took us from that, and you sold that. That deal was done, and the lady gave you that opportunity.
Yeah,
She told you.
yeah.
Take us. That was the first. Start painting the picture of Red Bull Media House now, because it became so big and powerful. You know what I mean? That's how I read
can
it.
tell you the
know?
day that I can tell you the day that it changed. I had a lawyer on my team named Jonathan Stern, great guy, works at Univision now. I had a client that I tried to sell a show called NASCAR Wives to.
Okay.
When I was at NASCAR, she was the head of all Discovery. Her name is Eileen O'Neill. She's no longer there, but she was there at the time. And so I walk into a boardroom one day in Austria, in Salzburg, Austria, and they say, we have a gentleman named Felix Baumgartner, and he is going to jump from space.
Oh.
And this happened actually 5 years ago last Saturday. October 14th, 2012 was when he jumped. And so I kind of sat up in my chair, and and I was on jet lag, and we just got to Austria, and I went, wait, what?
Yeah.
We got a guy jumping from space,
Yeah.
from 128,000 feet, to prove that the human body can sustain the speed of sound.
Right.
And I went, whoa, that's a story.
Yeah. That sounds. I can
said,
make TV
okay,
out of that.
so walk me through this. Well, it's going to be live streamed. We don't know when it's going to happen, and we're going to do it in Roswell, New Mexico. Okay. Well, you do it in Roswell because you have a dome of airspace that cannot be penetrated.
Okay.
And so that's because you have there's a missile base.
Kirtland Air Force Base around
Exactly.
there. All that. Yeah.
So then
White Sands, yeah.
White Sands is exactly what
yeah.
I'm saying. You know, when you say, well, it's because it's Roswell, and it's no. There's a reason that it's Roswell.
Yeah.
And they have a big airport there. So I said, wait, he's gonna go up, and in a balloon, and he's gonna jump from a capsule that Red Bull created, and it's going to be fully live streamed, and you don't have a U.S. broadcast partner? And they said, no, we don't. We went to CNN, and they said, no, we don't want somebody to die on air, because if something happened, you could die. It was a very high risk deal.
Yeah.
And so I called Eileen O'Neill, where we had NASCAR Wives, which had not done well for them. In fact, they canceled. She bought 19 shows like that.
Wow.
In the room.
Wow.
19 shows in the room, but we did not get it. The production, we had some production challenges.
Understood.
And so they pulled out of the contract. And it was unfortunate. It was the biggest deal I'd ever sold in my entire career. And but they pulled out of it. So I had not gone back. You don't go to the well too many times. Go out to your client too many times.
Sure.
Unless you have the proper widget.
Yeah.
And so I called Eileen. I said, listen, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C., and they're in Silver Spring, Maryland, is where Discovery's based. And I said, I'm going to be in town. Would you give me 5 minutes to talk to you? And so she says, yes, I would love to, Greg, no problem. So she comes in, and a guy named Scott Lewers, and Scott Lewers now runs TLC Today. Scott Lewers, and Bob Scalen, who runs Velocity Channel Today. We sat in the room, and I opened up the conversation, and I simply didn't know what to say. But if you can't get the client to buy it in the first sentence, you're wasting your breath.
Ooh.
If you can't get the client to buy it in the first sentence, you're wasting your breath. Now, you can go to tape and show them some tape. And never, ever walk into a room without tape. Never walk in. If you're somebody who says, I got a great idea for a concept for a television show, and I'm going to write it up on a piece of paper, and I'm going to submit it that way, you are wasting your time. If you don't have the capital, the wherewithal, the ability, or the connections to make video, or to create the content, or a teaser, you are wasting everybody's time.
Wow. Wow.
And so I walked in, and we had a little clip, but I walked in, and my sentence was, I have a guy jumping from space. Are you interested?
That was your opener line.
I have a guy.
And that's the first line?
I have a guy jumping from space.
Wow.
And she says, we're in. I said, but here's
She said it just like that?
We're in.
Wow.
I knew I had it sold. And I said, but there's some challenges. We don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to happen sometime within October, because the winds die down in Roswell, New Mexico.
Sure.
There had to be no breath of wind at all for the weather balloon, basically, which lifts the capsule to 128,000 feet. There can't be any wind, and because the balloon is the thickness of a Ziploc bag, and it can be destroyed very easily.
Yeah.
So there had to be no wind. We didn't know when it was going to happen. Roswell, as you know, is mountain time, so it's 2 hours from New York. And I said, we don't know when it's going to happen. We think October 14th, but we don't know. I said, but I will call you 3 hours before, and you'll have to clear your entire air on Discovery. She goes, I can't do that.
Give me that again. Call her how many hours before?
Only 3.
Oh,
Only 3.
Gosh.
Because we would know at 3 a.m. Mountain Time that we're going to go. That's going to happen. The mission's going to happen.
Okay.
And then she has to clear all her air and put this on live on Discovery. And she took the risk. Wow. Highest rated show non-prime time ever in the history of Discovery.
Give me again.
Highest rated show non-prime time.
Yeah.
I'll clarify that. Ever in the history of Discovery.
Unbelievable.
But she committed 3 hours of her airtime to it. And what was cool about this is we then went to YouTube, and we said Claude Rubiel was running YouTube Sports at the time. And I said to Claude Rubiel, I said, listen, we're going to do this live digitally as well. So Discovery had the linear rights in the U.S.
Okay.
YouTube had the global digital rights. Oh. And what I would tell anybody who's getting into the business about distributing content, window your content. There's linear, there's digital, there's this, and so I was able to have 2 clients take the same piece of content. Discovery had no digital rights. They only had the linear rights.
Okay.
YouTube had the digital rights.
Okay.
It was the more concurrent viewers ever in the history of the internet watched that show.
On YouTube?
On YouTube.
Worldwide?
Worldwide.
Yeah. Wow.
It took 15% of the global bandwidth of the entire internet.
Are you kidding?
When it happened. It was
15% of the entire global internet.
YouTube had guys in their office, which is outside of San Francisco near the airport there. They had guys in their office. They had 50 guys in there moving content around the internet to create bandwidth because they were worried it was going to crash the internet.
Wow.
It was, and I'm not exaggerating. It was, it was amazing. And then finally, which is nice, it was the very first. Again, it was for a live event. It was the very first Emmy, television sports Emmy, that YouTube ever won.
Wow.
So it was the
So that's
first,
a huge feather in their bonnet too.
first
for that.
digital, and that I feel, and it's, I'll just keep this in my own little mind, and people can argue it. That day, digital and linear merged.
Merged.
That was where I feel you could sell linear, you could sell digital. It blended that day. For YouTube to win their very first Emmy, television sports Emmy, they crossed over into the rarefied air that was or is linear.
Reserved for linear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where the lines I felt were blurred.
Wow, that is red letter. I had no idea of that.
That was where the lines were blurred in I believe in television, and it was cool to be a part of it. And I was actually on Facebook the other day, and I saw some of my old coworkers, and they were celebrating the 5-year anniversary and all that, and I wrote one of my guys back, and his name is Trombetta, and he's at Activision. And he said, listen, we had a good team that day. We had a good team that day. And so you have to look at your career and sometimes pause and celebrate the moments. Because there were few that get that. Don't forget the moments. And if you forget the moments, every day is just a Wednesday.
Every day is just a Wednesday, huh? I love it.
So.
You know what, Greg? We're going to come back. I've got a few more questions. We're going to take another quick break right now, and we will be right back.
Burnie's workshop is fantastic. Burnie's workshop is awesome. Burnie's workshop is insightful.
Burnie, in one word, passionate maybe. You can tell he really cares a lot.
Burnie is a badass.
He's a great teacher. He has great stories. And I would recommend this to anyone, not only someone like me who's starting day one, but I feel that in any profession, as you sharpen your sword, it always gets sharper.
I think the best thing about this is the access to understanding how to run your business, how to actually be in this filmmaking industry and make money at it. Coming to this workshop, I think, is what actually gets you the tools to understand how to do that, how to get out there and sell yourself.
I thought that was really cool. I thought, he knows all the tricks in the book, and he knows how to show that to us and actually demonstrate it so we actually know what he's talking about.
I really like the hands-on experience. That's something that you don't find a lot, but something you have to go on set a lot to just appreciate.
I know this is lighting seminar, but it's not only talk about lightings. He also share his business experience, personal experience, and guide us to what we should do, what kind of personality we should have in this business.
His stories, I think that kind of say everything in a few example stories that he gives out from time to time.
I would recommend this workshop to anybody who just spread into the industry, people who just don't know the swing of it. A lot of this stuff they don't teach you in film school.
I deal with a lot of freelancers every day, a lot of peers that I went to school with, a lot of professionals in the field, and they all need to take this class because it puts you on the next level, on the next playing field.
Burnie's a great guy. Burnie's really authentic. Like everything he learns, everything he teaches, the way he handles himself, the way he deals with other people, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Someone I've never come across before in the industry, and someone I hope to emulate and hope that there are more people like him out there that can help.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here with Greg Jacobs, and he is just recounting the Felix Baumgartner jump that he was head of
distribution.
Distribution at Red Bull Media House, and that big day. Amazing story, amazing story. You know, ironically, you talk about how things are connected. You know, you were at the top of that Well, I knew the camera guy, Simon Fanthorpe,
Oh, yeah, of
who
course. Yeah,
jumped
yeah.
out of the
Yeah.
plane and
Yeah.
got the first shots and stuff. And his wife, Sarah Hunt, is a great producer.
I love
too.
it.
She is so sweet, and I've worked with both of them with the Rolling Stones. They
Yeah,
got
yeah.
me on a Rolling Stones gig one time. So hearing that, now, what I want to ask, and add anything you want to your story, but what was the day after like? The day after that happened, and because to me that was the enormity. That was like old TV because everybody was talking about that the next day.
The next day,
Yeah.
and I love that question because I've thought about this a lot. You wake up the next day and you think, well, what's next, right? Or you kind of bask in the glory of what happened.
Right.
And you think to yourself, well, how long am I going to let that, let the success of the past kind of wash over
Stay
us?
with you,
We walked into, it was business planning.
Okay.
And we walked into a conference room. Every conference room at Red Bull is named after an airplane. Because Dietrich Mateschitz is a big airplane guy, and he's the founder of Red Bull. And so we walked into the DC-6 conference room. And I walked in, and I thought we were going to kind of have a high five, and look what we did, and we accomplished cool things, and rest on our laurels a little bit.
Sure.
Immediately, it was never discussed again.
Really?
What's next?
Ooh,
and it
I
was
like that.
that day that I realized, talk about keep pushing.
Yeah.
Keep pushing.
That's.
And it was, and I give Red Bull's had ups and downs, and it's this and that, and the media house has had challenges, and I understand all that. It was that day I realized there's a tenacity in this room. And there's a select group of people that can handle the tenacity and will get up and go do it. When so many wanted to say, we should have cake with candles on it.
Yeah.
We should have a party,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No. What's next?
What's next?
What's next? And it was literally never discussed again.
Unbelievable.
Internally.
Unbelievable.
It was amazing. It was the most, one of the biggest things we'd ever done.
Yeah.
And it was not discussed again.
Oh, it was huge worldwide.
But internally, we literally put a walled garden around it.
And just said, that's over here.
Yep. You guys were this team sitting in this room were the senior leadership on this deal.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about that. Let's go do this.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was an impressive. It was a kind of a depressing moment because you wanted to just go.
You want to take one lap.
You want to take one lap.
You want to take one lap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Alan Kowicki died in '93, flying into Bristol, Tennessee for a race, and he was on the plane with his sponsor, the Hooters guys, and unfortunately they died in a plane crash, and they took the hauler, the race hauler that has the cars in it.
Sure.
And he was Polish.
Yeah.
And they did what they called a Polish lap. And I'm not being, inappropriate.
Yeah.
The Polish lap. And they went the opposite way around the track and he had just won the championship the year prior, and with the checkered flag hanging out of the truck. And there was something about just the celebration of it.
Yes. Yeah.
They were celebrating life then, and we never talked about it again.
And just something about celebrating that one victory. I think that's really part of the team building. You know what I mean? In my mind, we're not machines. We are people. You do want a pat on the back. Now, with that pat on the back, you can say, now we're going to go out and get them again. You know what I mean? You can say that. But there is something very big. You have to congratulate the team.
100%
They
right.
want to hear it. They want to hear it, and it's important.
And I saw a post that you did the other day, which I follow your feeds and I find them interesting. Is you said, "Hey, here's a great. There's two. I love LA. I love you, and I challenge you or hate you, right?
Yeah.
And we all feel that way.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot of people, and it's,
Yes.
it's a process and parking, and it's
Yeah.
And then you said you had a great shot. You pulled back, you took a photograph, and you said, "I'm working with some of the best guys today." And the boys, I know they're loading the truck or whatever.
Yeah.
And I look at a couple of things in production. In the old days, you would shoot film all day long, 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter, whatever it might be, all day long. And then you would give, so ironic, you would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. Mm-hmm. Then you would hand the film to the lowest paid guy on the set to get in his beat up Honda
Yep.
and drive to
Yep.
Photochem or wherever they got it processed.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean, talk about no insurance.
No,
I it always baffled me.
dude, I have been the same way. You know what I mean? And you see the guy put it on the dash.
Yeah, put it on the dash. It's gonna flash. He's gonna flash the can or something. I never understood that. Everybody's the director's chairs like this, and their names are on it, and everything.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, that's a wrap. We're out of here."
Yeah.
And they're in the car service heading down the
Yeah,
street.
they're gone.
And they give the lowest guy paid on the set the
Yeah,
film.
yeah,
Baffled
yeah.
my mind. So anyway,
No, I hear you,
was
dude.
just-
No, there's
that's-
all kinds of inequities. Well, let's face it, Greg, and you, because you started out this way. I started out as a PA as well. This business is built on the back of cheap labor. I mean, it's built on the back of the energy of that kid who wants to make it in this business.
That is true.
It is. That is what you're banking on. That is what you're betting on.
I love that. And what I love about that, I'm going to expand on that in one more second. This is one of the few businesses that you do not need a college degree to get. I'm not saying college.
Absolutely.
I believe in college degrees. I have one. I believe in them. But I used to, when I ran Magellan,
Yes.
I'd have young kids that would come down, or parents lived down here, and they'd come down. Hey, I want a job, and I went to the UCLA Film School. Mm-hmm. I spent $180,000 of my parents' money to go to the UCLA Film School, and I'd say that's fantastic, great. Give me a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. Shut up and go to work, because you're gonna have to earn it.
Right.
This business.
Yeah.
You got to earn.
Yep. Yep. Yes.
You could come in with your CV or your diploma or whatever. You started at 40.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you earned it.
Yep. Yep.
And that is what you're not, I have a lot of businesses you're not given, but this business, you have to earn it. And here's what I like about this business, and maybe more on your side. You work with people every single day. Mm-hmm. And you said teamwork. Mm-hmm. If you don't have teamwork, nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens. And you can't guarantee it's going to happen either.
You can't.
Because you can't do it as a one-man band.
Exactly. And what was stressful about for me in production, in your side of the physical side of it, there's never a perfect day.
No.
There's never a perfect day.
No.
The FedEx guy didn't show up on time, so we didn't get the right lens that it didn't come in.
Right.
It's raining.
Yep.
It's this. Even when we said, let's shoot inside, shoot on a soundstage,
Yeah.
so we don't have weather to contend with,
Yeah.
something might happen. Somebody doesn't show up, whatever.
Oh.
And so the anxiety of the morning, and I see this in your feeds. I watch the way you can compartmentalize the anxiety of the stress. I was never able to do. I could sell television because I could control it.
Yes.
You can't control the set.
Yes. No, that's very true.
You could have a DP that goes off his or her ledge. You could have a director that has a fit. You could have an actor that doesn't show up. You could have teleprompters that go bad. You could have lights that go down.
There's
number
so of things.
Many variables.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
And that was, and I just look at people that are in this business, and I respect. It's not a lost art. It's a hidden art.
It's a hidden art.
No
I
one
think
sees
that's
it.
well put.
A hidden art.
Yes,
No one sees
yes,
it.
Yes. Well, you know what? In that sense too, is I've got a thing like any phone call from one of my guys before noon is not a good phone call. It's something.
Great line.
It's something that went wrong.
We got a problem.
We got a problem. So I know
That's a
that
great
going
line.
in. And you know what it is, Greg, and I think this is this is a business of personality types.
100%.
The reason that you're doing what you're doing is because of your personality. The reason I am doing what I am doing is because of my personality.
And your hustle.
And hustle. Oh, it's always hustle.
You hustle
That's
hard.
a given.
You
That's a
hustle hard.
given. But our individual personalities fit exactly the niches we fall into. And background, education, how you intersected the business, your age, all of that stuff has an influence on where you go.
Because I would pinch my finger on a C-stand if I had to do what you do.
Yeah, you would hurt yourself.
Yeah, I'd break a nail or something, and it would not be good.
And if I walked into that boardroom to sell that show, the best chance I have is turning around and just walking right out.
You're doing this, so you're getting there.
So you know. That's a given, but you know, it is that stress, and I know that it's very stressful in media, and I think this is something that most people that are really not into it or don't know anybody, and they think, oh, well, that's where they get together and be all creative and do all that. What is it mostly, Greg? It's stamping out the potential problems that you might find down the road.
100% correct.
You know that for clients that you're
It's
selling stuff
manufacturing.
for? Manufacturing.
I look at production today as running a factory.
Yeah, bingo. I think it's a direct analogy.
The trucks show up, the gear comes off, you do your thing,
Yep.
you make the widget and you go.
Yep.
And so many people don't see that. Now I do, of course, television has changed so much, and I would say if you think you understand the media business today, or someone tells you that they do, they are lying to you.
Oh, I want to hear that one again.
If somebody tells you...
Right here.
Somebody tells you they understand the media business today, they are lying to you. It is completely decentralized. Doesn't mean it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's changed. And it's changed dramatically.
Yes.
And every single industry changes.
Yes.
And we're seeing a media renaissance right now. Anybody with a certain level of camera can shoot a certain level of content, can publish that content, can get views, can monetize it, and
you're a producer. You're a content producer then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in a way, there's no rules.
Yeah.
Now, I look at the future of television to be very simple. It's going to be tile-based. So when you see ESPN is losing subs or subscription dramatically, but when you see that everything's going to be connected to TVs or Apple TV or Roku or what have you, Xbox, PlayStation, it's all tile-based. I'm going to go to the tile that I want to go to, watch what I want to watch, when I want to watch it, on whatever device I want to watch it on.
Wow.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And if you're not, so it's more about understanding really who your audience is.
Yeah. You're describing that, and I love that term, tile-based.
Tile-based.
Tile-based, because then you go to your tile, you decide when you're watching it, what you're watching, at what time you want to consume the content. You're assuming new content is being produced that all the time.
Yep.
And so you go back and that's your safe spot. That's your friendly place.
So now I'm putting a tile up on an over-the-top device.
Yeah.
OTT device. How am I going to generate money? I'm not going to do it based on ads. Ads, I believe that the 15, 35, whatever second pre-roll ad is going to slowly die. Anytime on YouTube you click out of an ad, they don't get paid.
Okay.
The publisher doesn't get paid.
Right.
So it's all subscription based.
How I wonder I just wonder about the value, how you value something like that. You know, I mean, too big of a question to answer, obviously, but on the subscription base, what is I wonder, what is it, a watch? Yeah, I wonder about pricing. I agree with you, by the way, that you don't want to buy, when I'm at home and the wife and I go through I mean, everybody does this. I swear to God, we pass 200 channels that don't even register with us.
The average American watches 13 channels.
Yeah, that's
the average.
I think that's even a lot.
Could be.
You know what I mean?
And the only thing keeping linear television alive today is live television.
Wow.
And it's interesting when we need to go to break
Yeah, no, go ahead, finish your thought.
It's interesting, last night I was watching the World Series. YouTube now has the live streaming rights again for Major League Baseball.
Okay.
So if I'm David Hill, I'm at Fox, and I bought the rights to Major League Baseball for the World Series for a period of time.
Right.
And now it's being digitally monetized on a digital platform.
Right.
What's my rights worth?
Yeah.
What's my rights worth?
It
is again, if somebody tells you they understand the media business today, they are lying to you. I don't care who it is. And we'll all kind of figure it out together.
Sean, that's going to be the title of this episode. His quote right there. If somebody tells you, you give it to me again.
Somebody tells you they understand the media business today, they're lying to you.
Greg Jacobs. Okay, right there.
I believe that. I do believe that.
Greg.
They may fake it, and they may act like they do, but they're bullshitters.
Yeah. Greg, listen, my friend.
Are we done?
Yeah, that's the hour goes by, especially with you. It's gone by twice as fast.
That's great.
But listen, my friend, I want to tell you this. You have right now an open invitation to Burnie's Applebox to sit here, talk about whatever you want to talk about, or tell them directly what you want to tell them. That is open to you, sir, at any given time.
You're a sweetheart.
This has been one of the most interesting hours I've spent in maybe ever about media, and there's so many more questions I have for you. So please, Greg, first of all, if you want to give it out, how does somebody get a hold of you if they're interested?
I have my email is greg@gregorysjacobs.com.
GregorySJacobs.com.
Greg@gregorysjacobs.com, or my LinkedIn, which is Gregory S. Jacobs as well, my LinkedIn.
Yes.
And I can't believe how fast this hour went
by.
I know it. This is exciting. I didn't know we were still on, but this is great. And I just, it's all I've ever done. My family owned a cleaners or a donut shop. I've done that. I just happened to do television.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much.
Appreciate it a lot.
And we'll see you guys soon. And please, watch this show. Watch the entire. It is full of state of the art. We don't know where media is going either.
You're sweet. Thank you.
All right. See you next week. Cut. That's a wrap.